streaming live right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TheGailey Show. Welcome to The Gailey Show. I'm JP Debragosian, your host. Joining me in studio is our executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hola, everyone.
And in the control room today is Patrick. Hey, Patrick. How you holding up?
How's it going?
Well, it is, what is today? Tuesday? Our call-in number, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205, or you can chat with us on our YouTube live stream. What is on the show today? David Reddish, contributor to Occupy Democrats and author of the Comic-Con Chronicles, joins us to talk about his recent reporting. There is a lawsuit against Iowa's book ban laws. They're pretty draconian. Glad to see this really interesting lawsuit coalition. We're going to talk about that. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was ordered to erase any mention of trans youth from their public-facing media and resources. And guess what they did? They complied. But up first, Target, a class action lawsuit has been filed against Target, its CEO, and current and former board members. If you've got thoughts about this Target lawsuit, 952-946-6205. So the plaintiffs in this lawsuit are the City of Riviera Beach Police Pension Fund. The suit was filed in U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida, the Fort Myers Division, which is not where the City of Riviera is located. So it's Florida cops who are suing Target over their DEI policies. Love that. It alleges in the suit that by failing to warn investors of the DEI risks, the stock prices were artificially inflated and board members secured re-election, causing additional damages. Now, Target has deliberately pulled back all of its equity and inclusion efforts, even going so far as to literally pull Pride products off their shelves last June. Folks will remember that MAGA folks were attacking Target stores, and instead of standing up to them, they capitulated, said that we're out of concern for our employees, we're just going to remove the products that these MAGA folks are violently attacking us over. Also, well, have you ever noticed that it's like if you go to buy deodorant, they make it sound like you're buying drugs there? Everything's like behind lock and key. So Target stopped their DEI policies, which included ensuring the businesses they buy their products from are reflective of their consumer base, and they still got sued. Now, weirdly, this case gets even weirder the more that you dive into it, which is why I wanted to talk about this today. So a columnist for the Palm Beach Post, Frank Sarabino, was reporting that the city of Riviera Beach lists diversity as one of the city's bedrock values. And if you go to their police department website, candidates, qualified ones, can request affirmative action hiring processes. And the police department's website says it, quote, values diversity and strives to be inclusive in its activities and programs, and also has a community-oriented policing program that emphasizes diversity and representation. Now, also where this gets weird, I don't know, is this weird? The Riviera Beach community is 65% Black, people of color. The majority of the leadership of the town is as well. The mayor, 4 of the 5 city council members, 5 of the 8 members of the executive staff of the police department, including the chief and assistant chief. The city manager is a person of color. The assistant chief, fire chief is. So I love this quote that Sarabino got from Rand Hoke, from the founder of the Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, called Riviera Beach's involvement in this lawsuit insane. That's their quote, Rand's quote. He said, "I'm shocked that they would be involved with an action that is totally against what Riviera Beach has stood for so long. It's embarrassing." Direct quote.
I don't think the lawsuit is clear, at least not to me. I know you've been studying it. I haven't been. But you're saying that they're suing Target, that DEI is somehow lowers their value, the stock value? I'm not.
That the DEI practices were a risk and that they were inflating they were somehow this led to inflation, but that it was a risk to the stock price. And they didn't tell investors that that was going to be a risk, because then the stock prices went down, and obviously they went down because of wokeism and the DEI policies.
Instead of because they pulled the DEI policies,
Mhm.
which is a more logical reason why.
Well, this suit had to be they must have been getting ready to do this, because this came after the announcement, but there's no way they could have turned that lawsuit around.
So it's just a way to knock DEI. It's very
Well,
convoluted. I can't even imagine a
I
lawyer making sense out of
love that Target, the board, CEO were all like, hey guys, we got to walk away from DEI here. Like, we have to get on MAGA's good side, blah, 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 blah. And then they're still getting sued.
Brian Cornell has been on MAGA's good side from day one.
Now, also, fun fact, the law firm that is heading this up for representing the plaintiffs is advertising for more.
Yeah, because they see this as that people will sue. Again, it's trying to turn DEI from the advantages that it is into a disadvantageous thing, and it takes some mental gymnastics, because you have to somehow seeing helping people or leveling the playing field, which we all know is what's called fair play, that's negative for stock prices. So you really are twisting yourself into a pretzel.
There is an April 1st deadline for folks
That's appropriate
to join the case. And it's just, if you haven't heard the episode that Twin Cities Pride Amplified did, because obviously that show is hosted by Andy Otto, who is the executive producer of Twin Cities Pride, and his executive assistant, Rena. I'm blanking on Rena's last name. I apologize, Rena. But they cut ties with Target, and they did a whole episode talking about, how they came to their decision, what the conversation was like that they had with Target. They haven't completely closed the door. Like, there's so many times that we've given Target so many opportunities to turn things around, and they would, and then they come back, and then they do again. And it's like, this yo-yo that we're on with them. But the Twin Cities Pride was then out 50 grand, because that's how much Target was giving every year. So they did I don't know if it was officially like a GoFundMe, but they did an official fundraiser, Twin Cities Pride, and they raised $100,000.
Yeah,
which would be at least 2 years of funding.
It's amazing to me that we in some ways indulge this stupidity, because I think we all know what's right and what's wrong. We may not like what's right and what's wrong. We might disagree with somebody's point of view, but there's no question that treating people fairly or making up for past unfair treatment is at least something we should be aware of. And people on the MAGA side don't want to be aware or generous or human or kind or thoughtful or reluctant for things that have gone wrong in the past. They want to double down on nastiness. So that's too bad for them, I guess, and their souls. But it's up to them.
What are your thoughts on the Target lawsuit? 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. You can listen to that episode that Twin Cities Pride Amplified did. You can go to am950radio.com, or you can go to the anywhere you get your podcasts, actually, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Just search for Twin Cities Pride Amplified. And I think the episode was from a couple of weeks ago. So really interesting.
I predict they're going to have employment problems, meaning a lot of people that work for Target are going to say, crud, is this the company that I want to stand
Target
behind?
made so many inroads and actually adopted a lot of progressive policies as it related to their queer employees.
Yeah.
So, and that's where it was so bizarre, and there was this weird disconnect happening last June when their stores were being attacked, which it wasn't like a wave of things, but instead of like hiring security and saying, no, we stand by this, we're not going to be intimidated, they said, we're being attacked and we need to protect our employees. So the obvious solution is to get rid of Pride products. Really?
A brave company would have said, this is wrong. What you people are doing in our stores is wrong. Back off. But they're not that. They're not a brave company, unfortunately.
Well, and now they're still getting sued. Yep. So this is what I'm going to call, I don't know if I can start a word, but instead of karma, this is Carmela.
I like that.
Let's make that a thing. When something happens to a company or a community that Kamala warned us about, and we didn't believe her, and it happens,
Yep.
that's called Carmela.
Yep.
All right. The AP News is reporting that, because we continue our book ban coverage here, that is something that is very near and dear to my heart to continue to cover what's happening around book bans. Publishers, a library, and others have sued Idaho over their laws restricting youth access to what they're calling, quote unquote, harmful books. Now, this was very interesting to me because of whom rather is involved in the lawsuit. It is
Yes.
several large, so it's Donnelly Library, which is the library in Idaho, but Penguin Random House and other large publishers are joining together to sue Idaho because it's very vague language. What they're saying is it's kind of what was happening. It's not kind of, it's what was happening in Rochester Public Schools, which is please remove anything that could be considered adult themed, pornographic, and just put it somewhere else for the students to somehow find out about it. And so this library, Donnelly Library, is like, we're too small. Like we're too small to do that. We don't have the space to do that. And so how exactly are we supposed to comply with this law? So this is actually the second lawsuit that has been filed against Idaho. So there was a group of small private schools and libraries last summer. They filed a lawsuit. That case is still ongoing. There are similar laws on the books in Arkansas, Iowa, Florida, Texas, as you can imagine. And there are lawsuits against those laws as well. The problem that I always feel with the court cases is the judicial branch takes so long. You know, these legislators can run right in and create chaos, and then we're stuck with it. You know, we're going to come back. We'll be taking your calls as well. If you want to join the conversation about these book bans or this lawsuit against Target, you are listening to The Gailey Show. Follow us on Blue Sky. We're at thegaileyshow.org. If you go to shoprainbowrd.com, you will find an amazing variety of adult novelties, literally thousands of items that you can peruse in the privacy of your home and have shipped to your door. Plus, in the store, you can find swimwear, casual wear, underwear, everywhere. Rainbow Road is located at 109 West Grand Street near Loring Park. Gift cards are available for the hard to shop for. Go to shoprainbowrd.com.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, Alan Turing and the limits of computation.
Turing asked whether a machine could ever act with human-like intelligence.
And whether a human could tell the difference.
But aren't there things a human can do that a computer never will?
Like lose its keys, bruise its knees, get stung by bees?
Turing and the limits of computation. Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Catch Philosophy Talk every Sunday morning at 8 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. That's Philosophy Talk.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale, your gathering spot near 26th and Lyndale in South Minneapolis since 2012. Come check out the fun and vibrant atmosphere. Besides our traditional favorites like the Nightingale burger and fries, did you know we also have delicious vegetarian and vegan options? Plus, we have one of the best gluten-free menus in town. And for drinks, our bar staff is always creating fun new cocktails along with a thoughtfully curated wine and beer list. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
Hey, it's Freddie Bell, host of New Beginnings, designed for those of us more seasoned, I'll say, with informative talk on everything from health, finance, local and regional news, volunteerism, spirituality, and even a bit of humor tossed in. So if you're proud to be a more seasoned listener, tune in to New Beginnings Sunday afternoons at 1 right here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shamblatt. My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblatt from Shamblatt Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblatt Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblattfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our live call-in talk show airing every Saturday from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights you need to know to live and age well. Each week, we talk with guests who provide answers to important questions regarding healthcare, elder care, end-of-life care, and self-care for caregivers, and help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 on AM 950 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm JP Derabagosian. It is 21 minutes past the hour. Our call-in number 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. You can also chat with us on our YouTube live stream. We're talking about the lawsuit against Target and we're talking about lots of lawsuits today. The one against Target and one against the state of Idaho over their book ban law. We have Roger from St. Louis Park who has some thoughts about the Target lawsuit. Hey, Roger.
Hello. I'm not directly talking about the lawsuit because it seems like the lawsuit's beyond anything we can do. But I was thinking about something that we all could do, and that is write emails or letters or contact the management and executives at Target and ask them, since they're no longer inclusive, who they are excluding and who don't they want at their stores anymore.
Yes.
And put the onus on them to make them actually respond to that.
Yeah.
Let them know that they're now in for uniformity and inequity and exclusion. Who are they want to be their customers?
Yeah, we wouldn't want to show up when they don't want us there, right? I mean, we don't want to.
And get them to say who they're excluding
Right.
because they're not inclusive.
Right. That's great. That's very smart.
That's a good,
You know,
we gotta go ahead, Roger.
I try to look at things that we can do, even if they're little things, that we need to be more of just a little bit of a thorn in corporations and people and make them get to be on the defensive rather than we be on the defensive all the time.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. Were you a Target shopper?
I'm a no shopper these days, but I do sometimes go to Target, rarely, maybe once or twice a year.
Would this get you to stop? I mean, is it that important, or how do you feel about that?
It's really, like I said, I don't really need to go to Target. So
yeah.
I think a lot of people do just for convenience, just for what they need, but to start asking them every time who they're excluding.
Right.
Because they claim they're interested in their customer base and the culture.
Right. But only some of them.
Yeah. Well,
some
no.
of their
Do you want our money? Do you want us here?
Maybe not.
Yeah. And make them answer your question. Who are you excluding?
Right. Right.
I think that's a great idea. We'll have to go to Target. I'm assuming their website is target.com. Start flooding those comment zones.
Yep.
Thank you, Roger, for the call.
That's a great suggestion.
Well, it's great listening to you.
Thanks, Roger.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care. Yep, that's just turn it around. And I love what Roger said about not being on the defensive. I'm tired of being on the defensive. I think we need to find ways to be on the offensive, doesn't have to be as abrasive as I am all the time, but to say, hey, I'm taking you at face value. Here's what you're saying. Here's how I am interpreting it. So I'm thinking you don't want me here anymore. Yeah. And let them live with that for a while. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Going on the offensive. So speaking of that, so the folks to continue what we were talking about before the break as well, the lawsuit against Idaho. So this is the new way of doing book bans, which is, okay, why don't we just vaguely call something adult themed or pornographic? It'll be very subjective, but we'll just, put those books aside in a different room so you can still, quote unquote, access them. But okay, That's still it's a shadow ban,
Yep.
right, if you will, because then that also begins, you can still begin to call those out. It's trying to stigmatize, to librarians, be like, do you really want to buy this book? Do you really
Right.
want to deal with the school board? Do you really want to deal with legislators? And we've seen it now here in Minnesota. Republicans have introduced similar legislation that would allow schools, superintendents, the boards, and whatnot to define, and it's of course, very vague language, adult theme, pornographic, nudity, and allows them then to define that for themselves and then start yanking books off the shelves.
Well, to Roger's point, I would say we don't accept their definition of everybody can have their own opinion about what is pornographic or nudity. But in the case in Rochester, it was a cartoon butt, and I will not use the term nudity or pornography about a cartoon butt. I think that's embarrassing to a person with even an average amount of common sense. So,
well, we're going to talk to the author of the ban on book ban laws, Minnesota State Senator Swarsnitzky, next week, next Tuesday, actually, a week from today. So stay tuned for that.
Great conversation.
Some really, I'm on this next news story. Stop complying with this administration if you don't have to. But the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was ordered to erase any mention of trans youth from public-facing media or risk losing its funding from the Justice Department. And so they were, I guess, forced to comply. We're seeing a lot of organizations and hospital systems doing this, school systems as well, where they're being told, if you don't comply with our BS, then we will pull your federal funding. There are hospital systems right now across the country that are yanking their gender affirming care programs, which is forcing families to then pick up their lives and say, where can we go to get this care for our children? But queer youth are overrepresented in folks who are houseless and missing and exploited.
Suicide rates.
And so this is just particularly egregious. The LGBTQ Nation had this story out reporting this on Monday, where a staff meeting on Friday confirmed the purge of materials referencing trans youth. And it is just the spokesperson for the center said that, like many federally funded nonprofits, we were directed by the DOJ to comply with the executive order. And we are responding to this direction in a balanced way, reviewing our policies.
Well, I would say, I hope no one takes their life over this, but I think it's likely that it could put people in jeopardy that way. And if anyone, God forbid, does, then that's the responsibility of the DOJ and the people who complied. That's on their soul. I wouldn't want that on my soul. Thank you very much.
And by Friday, they had scrubbed all mentions of LGBTQ plus youth.
Right. All because what's his name from what company hates his trans daughter and probably hates himself. So he's managed to make this a national psychosis because of his family issues. It's really frightening to see this, and you can see it very clearly. It's where the source of it comes from. It's not philosophical. It's personal with him, and yet he's willing to cause all of this suffering for all these good people because he's got a mental problem, or he's got a mental resentment, I should say, against his own child. So shame on him, and shame on anyone else that weaponizes his craziness.
Mm-hmm. It's.
But
okay.
we know trans people are valued.
We've got to fit in a break here. Right. When we come back, David Reddish from Occupy Democrats will be joining us. Stay tuned. Tell the sponsors that you heard about them on The Gailey Show.
Mornings can be tough. Unless, of course, you're listening to The Stephanie Miller Show every weekday morning from 8 to 11 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
David Reddish.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You must if you can respond. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said that, and then I was like, actually, don't tell me these things because I will have you here right away. Okay, so you should be hearing the commercial, like what's happening live on the show. This right now is happening on YouTube because that's how the technology works. So everyone can hear this, but they can hear. You'll hear the feed when we go back to it, and then you'll hear my intro, and then you know how this works, radio.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
Let me close my closet door so I don't look like a complete slob in front of your whole audience. So.
There we go.
That's better. That's much better.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. Unless there's anything I need to know as we go into it. Who is your lovely co-host? I don't believe you and I have ever met before.
Hi, David. I'm Jim Pounds.
Jim, it's you. Okay.
Yeah, we've communicated.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And if you want, do you see the private chat on the right there?
Yes.
Okay, I will put in time cues in there. We're about a minute and a half out, but we're about a minute out now, actually. So we'll switch back to the live feed now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Facebook's parent company dropped fact-checking and now openly allows users to label LGBTQ people as mentally ill, calling it political and religious discourse. But there's a better option. AM 950 has joined Blue Sky, the progressive social media platform. Keep up with the latest station news and programming by signing up for Blue Sky, then searching for AM 950 Radio and following us. Again, that's AM 950 Radio on Blue Sky.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Snow possible today with a high of 11, then tonight clearing with a low of 11 below. Valentine's Day is coming up. Make it special with a meal from a locally owned Eat Local Minnesota restaurant. Whether it's a romantic dinner or a casual date night, our restaurant partners are ready to make it delicious and memorable. Find the perfect spot for your Valentine's celebration at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Broadcasting live from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and streaming live right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thegailyshow. This is The Gailey Show. I'm your host, JP Derek-Bogosian. It is 33 minutes past the hour. In studio with me is executive producer Jim Pounds.
Hey.
And now we have a very special guest. David Reddish is the award-winning novelist behind The Passion of Sergius and Bacchus and the Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes series. He's also a noted entertainment journalist, having written for such publications as MovieWeb, Screen Rant, Queerty, and Playboy. He is a Rotten Tomatoes accredited critic member. I've read lots of your reviews on there, and now a contributor to Occupy Democrats. David, welcome back to The Gailey Show.
Hey, JP. Hey, Jim. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And David has also been a guest on This Queer Book Saved My Life, our other show that we run. We might talk a little bit about that later in the show, and I definitely want to save time to talk about your books. But tell us about Occupy Democrats and this new gig and what you all are reporting on these days, because there's not really much going on. So
well, let me tell you, Occupy Democrats. Well, your listeners may be familiar. Occupy Democrats has been around for about, I guess, 12 or 13 years now. It initially started as sort of a progressive grassroots organization during the Occupy Wall Street protests. Mm-hmm. And since then, it's become a multi-pronged sort of approach, a multi-pronged political activism team. And last year, they launched their own YouTube channel for Progressive News. And so I think we're about 9 months old right now. And I joined last month. and so I'm now one of the anchors for the news channel.
Wow.
Anchors. And so what have you been covering right now? I mean, there's so much that you're doing, but what are particular stories that you guys are looking at right now?
I mean, it's all Trump all the time. Like we can't make any kind of illusions about that. Obviously, the past 3 weeks have been galling and stressful for everybody that still has a soul in this country or any semblance of rationality. So, and it's funny, JP, because when I was offered the job, it did not cross my mind, hey, you're gonna be living in Trump territory like every moment of your day. I swear it's true. I'm having dreams about Elon Musk, which are like horrifying. But because it's all this stupid nincompoopery all the time. And so we like to keep our viewers updated on everything that's going on with the legal challenges to Trump's executive orders, everything that's going on with the DOJ, this non-existent Department of Government Efficiency, and how the Democrats are responding to it in Congress. We like to give...
How are they responding to it in Congress?
Well, Representative Al Green has started, he's filed impeachment articles, and I believe there's one other representative said today that he would be filing as well. Unfortunately, because the Republicans have majorities.
He's Green from Texas?
Al Green, is he from Texas? Yeah, he is from Texas.
I think he files impeachment articles a lot. He's really good at that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he has a boilerplate just ready to go. Like fill in the blanks, right? If he's smart, he does, especially with this administration. But so he is filing impeachment articles. Trump's talk about annexing Gaza and essentially committing genocide to get rid of all the Palestinians mortified a lot of people. And I can tell you that privately, a lot of even congressional Republicans are very upset and kind of horrified by all of this. But they are so, like, in the social media age, they are so afraid of the loudest voices, which are usually the most fringe voices, no matter where you are on the political spectrum. They're so afraid of being primaried because they've super gerrymandered their districts. So it's like, well, any Republican's going to win. So, you know, this is how you end up with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? This woman who thinks that the Jews control space lasers. This is a serious thing she has asserted, or that 9/11 was a conspiratorial inside job. She gets elected because she's in a solidly Republican district, and the only people that vote in the primaries are the most diehard fringe people, which is how you end up with more and more political extremity and polarization in the Congress and indeed nationwide. So
I thought the tell in all of that was that he talked about it becoming a tourist, resort area. And I thought, there's a developer, there's a person who's not a statesman, not a leader, doesn't know how to think in the way of motivating people or putting it in a context. He can only think of selling a hotel and putting up a building. That's his whole perspective, is that very limited view of the world.
I think that's exactly right, Jim. I mean, we saw the same thing with Greenland, where suddenly he wants to buy Greenland. And there are like real geopolitical arguments as to why the control of Greenland would be good for the United States. But here's the thing that our president doesn't understand. We already, even though Denmark controls Greenland, we already have a major foothold there and are able to export a lot of the minerals and raw materials that are that you would find in the soil in Greenland. As the glaciers have receded, we've discovered more and more of these. But then there are also seaways that are starting to emerge due to global warming and climate change. You're able to navigate, a faster route to Russia or to Central Europe, by sort of going up around Greenland.
Right.
We don't need to own Greenland to have access to these things. We already do. We have a number of military bases there. But this just speaks to Trump's know-nothing approach to everything. And that's something, the thing that kind of baffles me about his diehard supporters. They seem to like that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like them. He's more like them.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Because I was not surprised when he made the announcement about Gaza, because he had talked about that on the campaign trail. And Jared Kushner had talked about this as early as last April, about what amazing real estate property that is and how great it would be, when the war is over, to just, turn that into the Riviera of or whatever the thing was. And so something that I have been baffled by, and I don't know if it's come up in your reporting, is people being surprised that he's doing the things that he says he's going to do, like how dismissive people are of him on his side, the MAGA folks, how dismissive he's just saying that he doesn't, like in the campaign, he doesn't want to make, Gaza into a resort town. He says these things, and then he actually implements the policy and says, no, I'm actually going to do this. And people are like, what? Wait, I didn't vote for this. I mean, does that come up for you in your reporting? Or maybe is that just me that's like
no,
using my
you
mind?
hit on something. And even before I joined Occupy Democrats during the election last fall, I was consistently baffled. I do know people that voted for Trump. I pray for them. But the thing that I kept hearing from so many people that were voting for Trump, or when I would talk to friends about, oh, my relatives or my friends, so-and-so is voting for Trump, they would always say the same thing. Well, he's not really going to do that, which I cannot recall another political candidate in my lifetime, and I'm not aware of one in human history where people voted for him because they didn't think he was going to do the things that he said he was going to do. And that, again, you could say that's a certain cynicism. We've been living through 20 years of Mitch McConnell's obstructionism in the Congress. Barack Obama was a great president. He could have been even better if they've been able to play, instead their attitude being, we're going to screw you on everything we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they would have been able to actually work together, because the policies he put forward, for example, Obamacare actually started as a Republican policy and an alternative to single payer healthcare, which is what this country really needs, but that's neither here nor there.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there. We're going to get back there. And that's part of what I want to do on this show is I'm like, this is not going to go on forever. One way or another, we've seen the end of this script, and it does not end well for them. And we're going, single payer is going to be a thing. All of this stuff is coming. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Well, I think some of the cynicism, or I guess the disbelief in the sincerity of Donald Trump, is first that he changes positions left and right all the time for no evident reason. But beyond that, it's also, I think, just this level of cynicism that Americans have grown accustomed to of Washington is gridlocked. Nothing's really going to get done anyway. And if it does, it's going to be some milquetoast, kind of wishy-washy, overly compromised thing that's not really going to help solve the problems that we need it to solve. I think maybe some of it comes from that. And I think maybe some of it is, Donald Trump is a reality television star. And so I think subconsciously we know reality television is totally fake. And so it's like, should we believe that he's even a real person, that he really even is the president? There are plenty of people that say he isn't, or that he never actually left the White House because they're so entrenched in conspiratorial nutbaggery. It is a very curious thing to me, a very, very curious thing that people would vote for a candidate because they don't think he's ever going to do the things he says he wants to do.
They just want to shake things up.
On the lips. That's what they want to do. They want to do anything that makes us outraged.
Well, and I think a lot of what Elon Musk does is probably designed to purposely, to own the libs, to troll the libs. Okay, but that's not policy, and that's not productive. And the thing that I think above all else really infuriates me about the Trump presidency and about Trumpism as a movement, we can call it that at this point. It is its own political movement. The thing that frustrates me so much is, they like to think of themselves as disruptors. We're going to shake things up. We're going to burn it all down. We're going to take the wrecking ball to the government. And it's like, and even, we ran a story, I think just yesterday, about Kristi Noem telling people why she was in an interview with Dana Bash and was talking about why no one should ever trust the government. And Dana Bash interrupted her and said, dude, you are the government. Well, yeah, so you should trust me. But it's this attitude of, it's all corrupt. We just got to destroy it all. And we've got to be disruptors. But there are several problems with that. One being that disruption is not leadership. Mm-hmm. And a president needs to be a leader. And that's something that I think we can all agree on, or until recently we could all agree on that, Democrat, Republican, however you felt about the different presidents we've had in our lifetimes, leadership. It was either good or it was bad, but someone was trying to lead. Donald Trump's not even trying. No. And it's like his Republican Party is not even trying anymore to lead. It's just, well, break everything down, burn it all down and replace it with something else. And and by the way, that attitude is not unique to the right. I've met many leftists, many progressives, many liberals who feel the same way about, it's all It's all racist. It's all corrupt. It's all sexist. There's all this, all these institutional prejudices. It's, you know, it's partial to oligarchs and the rich. And it's like, well, we can debate the degree to which all those assertions are true. But the problem with burn it all down is it doesn't answer the big question, which is, what are you going to replace it with? And how are you going to implement that? And what is that going to look like? And I point to other revolutions, which are similar to the American Revolution in some ways, the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution in the 1919. The Russian Revolution, which saw the Tsar executed and his whole family slaughtered, and then you get communism. And the thought was, we're going to burn down this corrupt system and we're going to replace it with utopia. And there were so many reasons why that was not going to happen. They were in the middle of a world war. They were in the middle of a civil war. And they had no plan of action for how they were going to get resources to certain people or when they were going to industrialize what it was they were going to start building. You know, there's a famous story about the Soviets were producing stoppers for bathtubs. You know, they built factories to produce stoppers for bathtubs, but no one had a bathtub. It was like there was just no planning. And that's how you end up with somebody like Joseph Stalin, who whatever progress was made under Lenin during the revolution immediately went away. And he essentially became an even more brutal version of the Tsar. Someone who reigned with unchecked power, did whatever he wanted, committed, you know, all kinds of atrocities, you know, genocide in Poland, mass killing of his own people. He killed all his friends. By the way, you know, all the other revolutionaries that survived, Lenin, Zinoviev, and Trotsky, all these guys, Stalin murdered them all. So I don't want to end up with a situation like that in the United States. And I certainly don't want to end up with a situation like the French Revolution, which I think if there is some kind of violent uprising in this country, will probably look more like that. Where they didn't really, they had, you know, these sort of pseudo intellectuals who were, you know, lecturing people on, you know, the Robespierres. He's lecturing on social policy and engineering and everything, but he had no idea how to lead and no idea how to govern. And so they just started killing people. Like at first it was, let's execute the aristocrats who have betrayed the people. And then it just sort of became, let's execute anybody who's ever upset anyone before at all. And that's how you end up with a dictator like Napoleon Bonaparte, who then, you know, ravages Europe with war. And granted, we got the Louisiana Purchase out of it. Not completely, it's not all bad. Very few things are ever all bad.
There was some bad there in terms of our continued genocide of Native American and indigenous cultures. But we're going to fit in a break here. Lots clearly still to talk to with David Reddish from Occupy Democrats. We will see you on the other side of this break. You're listening to The Gailey Show.
Minnesotans are hardy. We don't let snow or ice get in our way. We have places to go. So making sure your vehicle is in prime shape for winter driving is so important. Take your vehicle to Rudy Luther Toyota for all your service needs. I was just there. I got my oil and filters replaced, and they did a complete safety check to make sure my vehicle can tackle winter. And they service all makes and models of vehicles. Head to RudyLutherToyota.com and use their super easy Toyota service schedule to set up your service appointment today. Rudy Luther Toyota on the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hey everyone, this is Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio on AM 950. When I am not on the radio, my job is to go out and train and speak on diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. In America right now, that is a tough subject for many organizations. But I'm here to tell you, we need to do this work. I do the work well, and so please, contact me at Human Inspiration Works. You can email me or go through my website at elliekrug.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
You may not think of it, but winter is a great time to take care of those exterior home projects. This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction. Most people wait until the warmer months for their exterior home projects, but labor costs are actually lowest in the winter. And that's true for the contractor I trust, Snap Construction. arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation contractor in the metro. Are you noticing ice dams on your house, or is your furnace constantly running and you're still not comfortable? In addition to your exterior home projects, winter is also a great time to get your insulation checked with a free energy audit from Snap Construction. The average cost to upgrade your insulation is oftentimes less than a new furnace. Plus, there are rebates available from your energy provider when you upgrade your insulation. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. So don't wait for prices to rise in the warmer months. Get a free estimate now by calling 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or go to snapconstruction.com.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am JP Derabagosian. It is 9 minutes before the top of the hour. With us is entertainment journalist and host of Occupy Democrats, David Reddish. David, I kind of want to revisit our conversation on This Queer Book Saved My Life.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about Angels in America. And you said something in that really resonated with me afterwards. You said something in there about how Angels in America, when you read that in like late teens, early 20s, showed you everything you needed to know about politics in America. Do I have that quote correct?
Something like it showed me everything I think about queer politics in America, certainly, and what I was going to be dealing with for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Does that still hold true?
It certainly does. I would love to know what Tony Kushner or the characters in Angels in America think about Trumpism. I can take a few guesses with Kushner. But I think the key point, it's funny. I actually just went back and listened to that interview. I hadn't heard it since we did it. And I had forgotten how much we talked about Roy Cohn, who was the mentor of Donald Trump. And that's, if you haven't seen the movie The Apprentice, the movie is uneven, but Jeremy Strong, who plays Roy Cohn, and Sebastian Stan, who plays Donald Trump, are awesome in it. And I think it does nail their weird relationship. And the fact that at one point, even Roy Cohn was like, what have I done? This thing is a monster.
Really?
And he's just awful. Like even by his standards, Trump was awful. So Angels, I think this is one reason why it's always going to be relevant, right? Because we are living in Roy Cohn's America. And it's I'll just make crap up and people will believe me. And it doesn't care what, why do I care what reality is? Why do I care about the truth? It's just what people want to hear and what's going to give me more latitude and more power.
There's that scene with Roy and Martin trying to convince Joe to go to DC and, basically, kill an investigation into Roy. But there's that speech that Martin gives about how, we've got a lock on the presidency until 2000 and we're getting the courts and we've got we're about to get and he just lays it out. And I'm like, oh my God, they did it. Like,
yeah. I mean, the pendulum moves differently than it did in 85, which is when the play is set. And certainly it moves different from whatever that would have been 91 when the play debuted on Broadway. There's we could have a much more in-depth conversation about how the 60-second news cycle, we're not even in a 24-hour news cycle anymore. It's like the 60-second news cycle or the 240-character news cycle, because information just travels instantaneously across social media. Washington has not quite figured out how to adapt to that in terms of its day-to-day operations, where things are designed to take time out of necessity and out of safety. And I think, and this is what frightens me the most about our current political moment. And this does relate to, I think, forces that are at work in Angels. So I'm springboarding off of your question. But the thing that frightens me the most, and this also relates to what we were saying about everyone wanting to burn it down on both sides of the aisle, the number of people in the United States, particularly younger people, who want a dictator They don't even make any kind of attempt to call it anything else or to cover it up. They want a dictator. They want a conservative dictator, or they want a liberal dictator, but someone who is going to be there forever and who is going to disregard all laws, disregard all process, and just do what he wants to do to make sure stuff gets done. Something like the Build Back Better Act, which was an incredible achievement on Joe Biden's part, but we will not see the fruits of that for 5 to 10 years. And so part of the reason Kamala Harris lost in the last election was that people are going, well, he hasn't done anything. Well, he has. And in fact, he's done something very, very necessary that's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit everybody, but it's going to take time to implement that. Barack Obama went through a similar situation coming out of the big recession in 2008. He wanted shovel-ready infrastructure projects. Well, the problem is everybody wants high-speed rail. Everybody wants, more sophisticated technology and improved power grids and all kinds of, alternative energy sources. But these things take time. They take science. They take all kinds of planning. Here in Los Angeles, where I'm based, we're finally getting high-speed rail up to San Francisco and out to Las Vegas. But it's not. But people are frustrated because it's not what they envision. They envision you go to downtown LA, you get on a train, and in 20 minutes you're in Las Vegas or San Francisco, right? And you go 300 miles an hour, like the Channel. Well, the problem is you do this through through residential areas and on existing tracks, so it's not as fast as it's actually supposed to be. There are other forces to contend with, and I think because of that, because of the impatience, we live in a time of total impatience. Instant gratification is not fast enough. Because of that, I think more and more people gravitate toward autocracy because they say, I don't want to have the debate. I don't want to have conversations. I don't care about regulations. I don't care what houses you have to bulldoze. I don't care who you have to upset to do it. Just make it happen overnight. That's a frightening thing to me.
To the other side, though, is that if they're expecting that from him,
yeah,
good luck. Good luck.
Well, I mean, we
have their interest at heart, but
you're right. We see this with his nonstop executive orders, and that's why, even though they've been a disaster, I saw a poll, I believe, just last night that said, he has a 54% approval rating. He also has like a 49% disapproval rating, which is unprecedented. But as opposed to, you compare that to someone like Ronald Reagan, who had a 54% approval rating when he came into office, but he had an 8% disapproval rate, and everyone else was sort of undecided. The polls are still there, and they're not really moving very much. The sort of ebb and flow between we like him, we hate him. But I think what's encouraging to a lot of his supporters is that he's willing to reject the law. He's willing to reject the Congress. He's willing to usurp their power, to reject the courts, to take over judicial power. And he's threatening retribution, like personal retribution, to anybody that even questions that, which is the stuff of dictatorship. But again, I think a lot of his supporters would prefer to have a dictator. And that is truly upsetting. Truly upsetting.
It is. We are at time today. We didn't even get a chance to talk about your book, so we're going to have you back here, David, to talk about your books and upcoming book projects that you're working on and new reporting with Occupy Democrats. Really quickly, how do folks connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram at The Gay Magneto. Yes, that's Magneto like the X-Men. All one word, all lowercase. It works. And you can find Occupy Democrats and all my reports on YouTube at the Occupy Democrats channel.
Perfect. Folks, the Matt McNeil Show is up next. After that, stay tuned for Native Roots Radio. And until tomorrow, have a great afternoon. Queer Immunity, the new LGBTQ cafe, social club, and resource center is now open in the heart of uptown Minneapolis. Dine in at our full-service cafe, rent a co-working desk, or one